was working 14, 16-hour days. I had a global role. And so I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning to talk to the teams in Japan or India or Australia. When I woke up in the morning, I wasn't looking on Instagram or TikTok. I was checking my email because the parent company was in Stockholm. So by the time I woke up, they had already been up for 5 or 6 hours and my inbox was already flooded.
She made 145
Yeah.
grand sitting there in New York. Hello, hello, everyone. Today we have our very own Eileen. Eileen is going to come and talk to us all about her journey as a real estate investor, as an entrepreneur, and it's going to be super exciting. So, Eileen, tell us about you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Eileen. I joined the program more than 3 years ago, and it has been transformational for my life. Before joining this program and investing in real estate full time, I was in the corporate world for about 24 years in public relations and communications, and sort of in the transition between the corporate world and now me being a full-time investor. I live in New York City. I have two great kids. I invest in Jacksonville, Florida. Here I am today, and I have 8 properties in Jacksonville, 12 doors, and my portfolio size right now is 2.7 million. Um,
Yes, I
yeah,
get so excited. Every time I hear the millions, that's like the most exciting.
I
2.7
know.
million.
I know.
Eileen, oh my
I know.
God. In
I can't wait to cross three.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
It's only been 3 years.
3 years.
And
Yeah.
you just need one more to cross three.
I was working 14, 16-hour days. I had a global role. And so I was waking up at 3:30 in the morning to talk to the teams in Japan or India or Australia. When I woke up in the morning, I wasn't looking on Instagram or TikTok. I was checking my email because the parent company was in Stockholm. So by the time I woke up, they had already been up for 5 or 6 hours and my inbox was already flooded. I had always sort of wondered, what could my business be? What could my entrepreneurship be? As the grind of corporate life started to really, really weigh on me, and my need for my own mental health and physical health and sanity, to exit the corporate world, like as those two things sort of came together, one of the nails on the head, aside from like the 3:30 in the morning calls, was just like what it was taking from, me and my family and time with my kids. And, they talk about you have 18 summers, and that made me like panic. And I'm like, I have to do something. Before this program, I always kind of had a fascination and a passion for real estate. And I was, just like so many of us, like constantly looking on Zillow and trying to scheme and figure out how I could ever afford to own rental properties in New York City. It's just like bonkers. And then this concept of, like investing out of state came to, sort of just like hit me over the head. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? How do you manage that? And then hence I found open spaces, and it was like, let us tell you how. And so Palak was so real. And she also came from the corporate world, and the community is filled with kind of people who are really, really diverse, but are all like high achievers. And they're not in real estate to try to like cut corners. We all really, really want to build our net worth.
I knew like there was something there, even
Yeah.
though it didn't fully feel like it was a rational choice. But there was definitely, and I'm so glad, like you really have to follow sometimes that inner voice that tells you that that's the right path. So, yes.
Yep. BRRRR is really the foundation. It's, I think, the best real estate strategy. Once you nail it and you really master BRRRR, you might start to think, like I did, of like, okay, what else could I do with these properties? How could I maximize cash flow here? If you look here, you have maybe a traditional long-term rental that's 3 bedrooms and 2 bath. Okay, you have a living dining room, you have the kitchen, you're making $2,000 a month in rent, you have one lease, and you're cash flowing $200 a month, which is actually really great because there's so many other benefits to owning this property, and it's going to have tax benefits, it's going to appreciate over time, everything that we learn about the BRRRR strategy. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you look at the other side, if you take that same property and you capture some of that, living and dining space that would be traditionally used for a family, make a couple of other bedrooms in there, split
Hmm.
that giant master bedroom in half. Now all of a sudden you've got 6 bedrooms, you've got two
Hmm.
bathrooms, you have 6 different people living in there through pad split. They do all the screening, and I can get into all of that to make sure that, you don't have somebody with a criminal past or like really awful, terrible credit. And now you're making, over 5,000 gross. I bought it for 153. The rehab was quite expensive. So this house needed like everything. And this one is 2,200 square feet. So the rehab was quite substantial, but as you can see, the ARV payoff was really great. It ARV'd
Wait,
for
wait,
four.
wait, wait. I want to do this. Let's talk about
So,
it. So you bought it for 153.
yep, rehab was 130, ARV'd for 428. So at the end of the day,
God, what?
I left in the deal $4,800. So,
Wait, can I just admire that you did this deal where you made $145,000 in how long was this Burr project?
at least 6 months. I don't know, 6 months probably. Yeah.
6 months you made
Yeah.
145 grand in
Yeah.
6 months, and you weren't
Yeah.
even there. This
No,
is
I
you
wasn't
sitting
even
in New
there.
York, and this is happening
Wow.
in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
This
And
is
so
crazy.
is that insane? She made 145
Yeah,
grand sitting there in New York, and like she's
this
doing
is
video
wild.
walkthroughs and $145,000 in 6 months. And this is just like a side
Yeah.
pro. How many hours did you spend on it? Like 30 minutes a day max, maybe?
Probably more than that, but
Okay.
just managing rehab and chatting with the contractor. I mean, obviously some days are heavier than others. So yeah, not a lot of time.
Oh my
Not
God,
a lot of
Eileen,
time.
that's
Because,
amazing. What a great
because I
project.
found a contractor who I could trust,
Of course.
so and
Yeah, and one of the biggest things we talk about is you have to grow yourself as a leader. The reason you have these big paydays is you have worked on yourself and you worked on building this business and you grew as a leader where you were able to find a good contractor, keep them, manage them really well. That's like the biggest payout in the beginning, right? Like that's when the forced appreciation is when you make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of
100%.
time. And
Yep.
then
Yep.
your cash flow is phenomenal on top of
Yep.
that.
I have members that I never hear from. And then I have members who will just say, this has changed my life and I'm so grateful for this place to live. I had a woman move into one of my properties. She had moved to Jacksonville with her boyfriend. She knew nobody in the city. And she was in an abusive relationship with this dirtbag. She had a job, but finally she was like, I gotta leave this guy. I don't know where I'm going to go. She couldn't find a place to live, but she just decided like no more of being in this shitty relationship. And she was living in her car. She had a job. She liked her job. She was making decent money, but just not enough for like all of that like background, like the first month's rent, the security deposit, all of that. So she was sleeping in her car, going to work and showering at her gym because she could afford her car, her phone, her gym membership. She just couldn't afford to like get enough saved up for a studio apartment. And so she found Pat Split.
Before I started running started my entrepreneurship journey for as a W-2 employee, the only way you think about making an impact is either donating money or donating your time somewhere. And when you think about and you feel so insignificant in this world where so much impact is needed. As small business owners, we have the ability to make so much impact in this world, and we don't realize it, honestly. But
Mhm,
who said you can't be profitable and do good at the same time?
mhm.
And what a privilege to be able to do both. What a privilege. Like, how lucky are we to be able to do that?
Like I'm gonna leave today at 3:30 to drive my kid to his soccer practice, which is an hour away, because that's the club he wanted to go to
Yeah.
because it's prestigious. And, back when I was in the corporate world, I wouldn't have been able to do that. It's amazing. It's
So
it's
good.
magic,
It's magic.
it's
Yes.
magic.
And you made your own choices. So that's amazing. And so many layers of what we do here provide. And then, any business you run, you're providing employment to people. You're giving business to other small businesses because when you run a business, you need other businesses to help you. And so that is another layer. Okay, so we'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Eileen, again for taking the time. That was amazing.
Awesome.
So something fun's happening next week, and you'll see Nidhi
I'm
and
sure.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
gonna be really
it's
fun.
the
Bye, guys.